Is Billy from Wretched, and you are watching Richard Metal Fan.
Hey, what's up, guys? Bring you guys another episode of Richard Metal Fan Interviews, calling from Zoom, and I'm here with Billy Powers from Wretched. So, how are you doing today, Billy? It's great to be able to have you on.
I'm doing pretty solid. How are you today, Richard?
Not too bad, not too bad.
And it's great to be on as well.
Yeah, yeah, just doing good. Just got home from work not too long ago, had a great dinner, and now I'm interviewing you.
Yeah, awesome. What did you have for dinner?
I had like
If
this
you don't mind
awesome.
me asking.
Hey, not at all. So I kind of had like this awesome like cheesy chicken and rice with some little carrot sticks on the side. It was amazing.
I mean, yeah, chicken with rice and cheese and carrot sticks sounds delectable to me as well.
Hell yeah.
So I'm glad you had a fantastic dinner.
Hey, yeah, yeah, anytime. So kind of the format of the show is I want to talk about like your musical history as well as I want to talk about the new Wretched album coming out in October. So take me back to young Billy
Mhm.
Powers. So kind of growing up, what were the first bands that got you into metal? What made you want to be a vocalist?
Okay, so I would say that all of my early influences were as I was under the influence of my parents. My my dad was really big into stuff like Black Sabbath, Iron Butterfly. My mother and father both Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix. As I got a little bit older, my first cassette tape was a Tommy James and the Shondells cassette tape that I got from a comic book store in Mesa, Arizona,
Oh
which I
wow.
was beside myself on because it had the song Dragging the Line and Crimson and Clover on it. And honestly, that it's like ever since I was like probably about like 7 or 8, like I think at that point I wanted to be a rapper, which as you can tell didn't pan out. Not to say that I don't have the pipes for it, if you will, but I think that I'm more well suited in doing what I'm doing. And as I got a bit older, in like maybe 8, 9. Anytime my mom throughout the summer would drive me and my sister to a babysitter's house, we would listen to like the cassette tapes of. Um, Sorry, give me just a second.
Anytime. Stuff that happens in interviews, folks.
Yeah, yeah. My cat was trying to get in the room, and she kept scratching at the door. And then when I opened up the door, she just booked it. So I'm just like, I can't play with you right now, babe. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, so we would listen to cassettes for like Bon Jovi's "Slippery When Wet," which I still,
Classic.
yeah, to this day, I consider that to be Bon Jovi's only album
Yeah.
because that was really the only one that I had any experience with.
Yeah. I have like a
And
only have
as
like a greatest hits of Bon Jovi in my
dude, the
collection.
greatest hits. Yeah, there are some stellar releases within his catalog. But that's the one that I have the most like personal attachment to. And then there's stuff like Guns N' Roses that my mom really enjoyed. Def Leppard's Hysteria and Pyromania, Hysteria more so. Um, and then around the early '90s, I remember she took me on maybe a Friday, the day that Alice in Chains released their EP Jar of Flies. We went to a CD warehouse in Arizona, and she bought that because she like that was like the opening of grunge for me. So I got into stuff like that, and then when we finally moved to North Carolina, the first band I ever got myself into while I was upstairs in my bedroom watching MTV. Green Day was doing a performance, and this was 1995, so they had just put out Dookie,
Yeah.
and that was the first band I ever got myself into. After that, very quickly after that, I discovered No Doubt because Tragic Kingdom had just come out, and so Green Day's Dookie was. I got that cassette for Christmas. I got No Doubt's Tragic Kingdom for Christmas. The first CD I ever bought myself, I had a CD like a music store that was across the street from our apartment complex in Concord, North Carolina. I had them order me the No Doubt self-titled. So that was the first CD that I had ever purchased. So I've got as it's it, yeah, that was that. And then I started getting into stuff like 311 with their self-titled Blue album.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
classic.
and then quickly after that, but then I listened to like the album Transistor, and I'm just like, dude, it's so dope. It's got
Yeah,
such a good
yeah,
groove to it.
311
Like the
is the
bass is
shit.
killer. Everything is rad. Dude, rad. Good. I'm glad to find a like-minded person that
Yeah,
doesn't trash them
yeah,
because everybody seems to be like on the boat of why did their first album just get a repress, or why did their self-titled just get a repress? It's like
yeah.
because
I
it's fucking
just they
awesome.
just have like those great blend elements of like reggae and then just rock and then the hip hop, and that's just
Hmm.
the one thing,
Yeah,
especially with the singing and
dude.
the rapping just goes hand in hand with it, not one another. And a lot of
Hmm.
people would consider them to be sort of like, I guess, like the prototype to like would
And
eventually
I think
become new metal.
yeah, I was about to segue that into it, like because shortly after that, I started getting into the heavier stuff like Korn and Limp Bizkit, Deftones. Like there used to be a do you remember a channel called Fuse?
I remember that there was this. I remember
Did I
seeing
cut
like
out?
clips of it online. There was like this show called Uranium with this Mistress Julia.
Yes, yes, Uranium was a part of that. Yes, exactly. But before they were Fuse, they were called Much Music.
Oh yeah,
So that was Canada's answer to MTV. And every Saturday, I believe, they had a segment called Loud. So I would watch that because at that point I was like really big into Marilyn Manson, and I was like doing everything I could to catch a music video because I was just so intrigued by like their aesthetic and the way that they looked, and the just the shock value of like everybody picketing and all that stuff. So I and through Loud, I discovered like the band Cold Chamber, and because I saw the video for Loco, and I was just like, and I was like 11 or 12 at the time, and I was just like, this is the heaviest thing I've ever heard in my life. And at that point, it like Korn had already put out their self-titled and Life is Peachy. So yeah, and then I just progressed from there into heavier and heavier stuff. Like, of course, I like the classics, like Metallica and Megadeth, Slayer, everything else in between. Um, but then I was pretty much on like a pretty lowercase metal, if you will, until I started listening to Black Dahlia, which I had been listening to Black Dahlia since Unhallowed came out because I saw the video meme of SpongeBob
oh
doing
yeah.
uh, one of the songs off Miasma,
I think so. And
and
I think there was also one where it had like Job for a Cowboy Boys in
yes,
2 Minute
yes, there was a
Machine.
Job for a Cowboy one as well, which is freaking awesome because I totally forgot about that one. Um, yeah, because they did Doom or yeah stuff off the Doom EP,
Yeah.
um, and I dug Black Dahlia at that point in time, but I wasn't really the biggest fan of like the low guttural vocals until they put out Nocturnal. And
Yeah, which
once
is the
they put,
best album.
dude, absolutely. I
Like,
that and Nightbringers for me are my top two. But yeah, once I heard that, I was just like, and I was in a band at that point in time called Chime, spelled
yeah, which is I was about
CHIME.
to led me right into there. They're
Sick,
like there because nobody ever talks about Chime. I'm always curious about like the history of
dude.
that band.
Dude, but before I get onto that, so Chime was like more of a grindy, a grindcore like technical band. And once I listened to Nocturnal, I was just like, damn, I really need to be in a band like this. And then Wretched, as we knew back then as And Since Forgotten, were looking for a vocalist. So I reached out to Steven on MySpace, and I was just like, hey man, you need to let me try out. And he responds, are you serious? Because he knew that I was with Chime and I'd been with Chime for like 5 years at that point, maybe. And I was just like, yes. So they sent me a song, which became The Descent off of The Exodus of Autonomy. And yeah, I just did up a little video for it. They gave that to me because they said it was the hardest one to write to, but I already had lyrics that I was going to use for a song with Chime. And I just paired it up with that, and it was a perfect fit from the get. and the rest is history with that.
Yeah. Yeah, but tell me about like th this album. Like what was it like
Yeah.
making like the debut full-length Wretched album?
That was it was great, man, honestly, because um prior to getting signed to Victory Records, we
Yeah.
had about a 6-track EP, I believe. There were some variances with some of the songs that are on that album. Nothing major changed, just a couple, some tones and whatnot, some lyrics and whatnot as well. Let me say whatnot one more time. Um, and then we added about 4 songs to it, including the instrumental. So I didn't have much more on my plate to deal with on that, but it was awesome, man. Like my approach with writing the lyrics for that were short stories. Like everything was a short story that I constructed in my own brain. The only thing that was loosely based off of any type of historical like fact, if you can call it a fact, was fetal consumption, which is about Julius Caesar, or not Julius Caesar, but Caligula impregnating his sister, cutting the child out of her, killing her, and eating the baby.
Damn, that's fucking
Yeah,
metal.
yeah. But everything else like on there is just like it's stuff that I drew. I maybe drew some inspiration from a couple other things, but primarily it was all um like yeah, it was all just out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I love is the last three songs being like 6, 7, 8, like the title track, The Descent, and Everlasting Damnation. I feel like those are I would consider kind of like the epic and a great way to end this album. It's like, how did those songs come to be?
Mm-hmm. Well, as I said, The Descent, that was the first one I ever wrote the lyrics to. And that was the first one I demoed with them. And the segue between the instrumental, I would say I wouldn't say that it was written with the intent to connect to The Descent, but it all just kind of magically happened the way that it should have. I like when it comes to writing the instrumentals, I don't really have all of the information that would be appropriate to answer that and do that question justice. But I can say that Steven puts so much effort and frustration into everything, whether it's songs that are going to have vocals attached to them or whether it's going to be 7, 8, and including our new album, a 17-minute long instrumental. There's so much that goes into it. That boy is a, a picking god, if you will.
Yeah, and of course, because I'm always curious about like the little bit of the background, like getting signed to your first label, Victory Records, because I know there's a lot of like mixed feelings about that label. So
Oh, of course.
for you, like how did I guess first of all, like how did like Victory Records find Wretched?
So what we did was with the EP that I was talking about a little bit ago. So that was the music for that was tracked by Jamie King out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Um, I recorded my vocals for it in Marshall's bedroom out in China Grove or Monroe, North Carolina. And then we did like a week and a half, 2 week long, like little Southeast excursion, which was literally right around the time that Hurricane Katrina was rolling through. So our
Oh shit.
Louisiana date got canceled. And as we were driving away, we just saw nothing but black sky rolling in. We got to the venue
Holy shit.
because the promoter had reached out to us and was just like, yeah, everybody's evacuating, show's canceled tonight, but meet me at the venue, which ended up, I think it was like an ice cream shop or some shit, which was I would have
That
like
just
loved
sounds
to play in
random.
an ice cream shop.
Yeah,
It
yeah, you
probably would
could
have stayed
play
nice and
metal,
cool
get
the
some
whole
ice cream.
time.
Can't
Yeah,
complain
dude,
about that.
exactly. Yeah, freaking ice cream dinner and a show, man. But yeah, we met up with him and he paid us out for the night, which was super freaking rad of him because that was obviously out of everybody's control. But to because I derail a lot, let me get back on topic.
Hey, I love this. I
Good,
love talking.
good. Me too, man. As you can tell.
Yeah.
So we did that little tour. We had resubmitted that EP to Jamie King to mix the vocals in much better with the music. And he did that. And in the midst of doing that, he sent it off to and shopped it out to some labels. He had already had connections with Victory Records with Between the Buried and Me, and a multitude of other bands he probably tracked for that label. So when we got back, we had a couple of different offers. I'm not really sure what the other label was, but Victory Records was one of them that sent us an offer. Like, I think Tony Brummel literally sent Steven a MySpace message, or the group a MySpace message, saying, "Hey, you guys want to be on the label?" And
Yeah.
like, it was just as simple as that. It was so weird. But I mean, North Carolina was like really hot at that point. Like, you know, A Hero of Fate came up from that, A Skylit Drive, My Hero Was Me. There were a multitude of bands that were getting pushed out of North Carolina. I mean, Between the Buried and Me, that
Oh
was like
yeah.
that was like they were raising up at that point. Because I mean, they had like recently, I think Colors had not even come out yet at that point. It was, I think the last album that they had out at that point was Alaska, which my favorite.
Yeah.
Um, and so we got back. We had the offer from Victory. Um, we reached out to Jamie King about it. And Jamie King basically put it into perspective for us. Like, there are a lot of people that would love to be in your position right now. Yes, Victory Records has a name for themselves that is maybe not so clean.
Yeah, because
But
I've heard like all this horror stories. Like I remember even like fucking A Day to Remember sued
yeah,
them
they
because
did.
they were holding back money or some shit
And
like that.
and A Day to Remember one, and that was pretty much the beginning of the downfall of Victory Records, because
Yeah, I heard
after
it got
that,
like sold or bought out by I forget what it
Concord
was.
Concord Media, or Concord Music Group, I believe,
Yeah.
bought out their entire catalog, which is something that we would really love to get a hold of on those first four records, Exodus all the way through Cannibal, because a lot of people want reissues of those vinyl, but we don't have the ability to do that, unfortunately, because we don't have the licensing rights for that. But that is something that we are like adamant with Jason, our manager through Unchained, that we are trying to get that ball in our court so that we can get those into people's hands,
Hell yeah.
because
And
those were also limited.
yeah. And then of course the next album, which is of course your last record with the band Beyond the
Mm-hmm.
Gate. I love this album. It's like a quick turnaround from the Exodus of Non Me literally came out like a year later. Did you started writing for this album right after the Exodus of Autonomy came out?
I wrote, well, I would say that Steven and Joel um, more so started writing that album very shortly after. It's either I know that John Vale was Joel had quit, and then John was on that album. But Joel still had his hands in it. He was still mentoring and doing all of his awesome shit with us. But yeah, they pretty much started writing that album pretty quickly after, to get that turnaround, because we were kind of under the gun with Victory, and they wanted us to put out something new as quick as possible. The funny thing about me with that album is I wrote the lyrics. I started writing the lyrics for that album by writing Birthing Sloth and My Carrion. And those were both heavily influenced by Full Metal Alchemist, the anime, the 2003 Full Metal Alchemist, not Brotherhood. Which, if you go back and read the lyrics for that, I'm sure you would draw the parallels between the series and that. And after I wrote My Carrion, I had the thought in my own mind, I really think that there's something more to this. So I started creating my own world within that subworld of everything. Um, and that's how that happened. But the great thing about that album is I wrote all those lyrics in under 2 weeks, and also tracked that album in under a week. I think I tracked that album in maybe like 2 or 3 days. And I feel like it's kind of apparent with the way that my vocals are, because they come through a little raw at certain points. But that album was, once it was all said and done, I fucking love that album. And I love the story. I love the direction that I took. And I'm very excited about Decay because Decay reintroduces El Turiel from that album.
Yeah, which we'll get there in
And
a sec.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but this year does also mark 15 years of Beyond the Gate. What I'm curious is, being as this album is now like a decade and a half old, do you have like a different viewpoint about it now as opposed to when you first put it out?
Not really. I mean, with everything, you can always be your own worst critic. Um, Even right after it was all tracked and everything, there were things that I wish that I had done differently. Steven, Marshall, like Joel and Andrew, or not Andrew, Joel and John, all had different things that they knew that they could have done better. But we were just so under the gun that we had to get it out as soon as possible. But I mean, I feel like that album stands the test of time for me. I may be a little biased in that opinion because I had a part in creating it, but I everything still to this day sounds great. I mean, there are certain songs that am I do I wish that we could wipe from our live sets because I played them so many times over and over and over again? Yeah, sure. But I mean, I still really enjoy it. And I love the reaction that we still get from people that love those songs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have any qualms with it whatsoever. I look at it as an accomplishment
Yeah.
of my
The,
past.
yeah, but then you started playing a little bit for the album, and then it was that same year you left Wretched for a long time. So how hard was it to leave the band?
At that point, it was a pretty easy decision for me. Um, I have no issues divulging that there were some internal issues that some of us just didn't see an end to. So before allowing it to go any further than it had already, besides being verbal altercations, I decided to evacuate myself from the situation, which I feel was the right move. Also, I mean, we had just come off of probably the worst tour that we'd ever done, um, which was a northeastern Canada tour, and no fault of the bands that we played with at all. Man, those bands were great. They were all really cool guys. They loved us. We loved them, but they were all metalcore and just thrived in the breakdown scene. So all the people that were coming out to see those bands play weren't really the biggest fans of melodic death metal. And guitar solos and like fast-paced guitar riffs and everything like that. So we just didn't have the greatest experience on that tour, and that was a real big morale crusher for me. And I was also tired of being hungry on the road. We weren't making that much money because, as I said, the tour wasn't the greatest to us, so we weren't selling a lot of merch. We just weren't doing that well on that one. So with the morale, the internal issues, being hungry all the time, I stepped away so that I could continue working full time. And I worked in
Yeah.
retail, and then I eventually got my own store and all that crap.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, like during the huge break, what were you doing in the meantime?
Worked at Hot Topic. Ended up working for that company for 11 years, which I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
big ups to them because they were a cool company to work for until they weren't. Um, and when they stopped being a cool company to work for was probably around like 2013, 2014. And again, no qualms with them. It just came
Yeah,
down
they
to,
occasionally have some good band shirts, but most of
yeah,
it sucks.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's in the name. I was talking to my friend about this today because we met up at Concord Mills Mall just so he could grab some stuff for this event he and his wife are going to go to. Um, and I was just like, it's in the name, man. Like Hot Topic. Like this is the shit that's hot right now. This is what people are buying. So of course they're going to sell it. So I never really had any issues with that. But yeah, I worked for that company prior to leaving Wretched, and I was even a full-time assistant manager while I was with Wretched. But gave me, they had me fill out a form, and it was like a basic temporary leave of absence. So I was able to go out on a full US tour, come back and still have my job, which was fucking awesome. And then, work and then leave again in like a month or two to go out on another full US tour. So that was really cool. And then after that, I quit that company in 2016. And that year, Wretched had actually played a show at Amos's South End in Charlotte. And um, I went out to that and I jumped up on the stage, did a couple songs, I think Preservation of Immortality and Fetal Consumption, alongside Andrew or Adam Cody. And that was super fun. And then shortly after that, I worked in the service industry at a burger bar joint called Moo and Brew, which, if you haven't checked it out in Charlotte, I think they've
Yeah.
got a couple locations now. Freaking
I
delicious.
need to try that next time I'm in North Carolina.
Dude, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's one in Charlotte and there's one in Matthews, I believe now. But yeah, dude, absolutely delicious. And then COVID hit, uh,
Yeah.
and all the while, my old roommate from Charlotte, Thorin, who I live with now in Georgia, he had been trying to
Oh
get me to
wow.
come down to Georgia, live in Atlanta, and
Yeah, not far
um,
from me.
yeah, awesome. And and he was always trying to hit me up and get me to join the film industry because he worked in the location department in North Carolina. And when the tax incentive was pulled for North Carolina, film started to drop off in NC, and so he moved to Atlanta.
Which is basically becoming like the new Hollywood.
Yeah, right now it's kind of slowed down a lot, but I did reach out to him towards the end of 2020, and I was just like, "Hey, man, I know you've been trying. If you can get me a gig and maybe a place to crash for a little bit until I get up on my feet, I would love to move down there." And he was just like, "Are you serious?" And I was just like, "Hell yeah, I am." And so I moved down there in March, started a gig, which was the film The In Between, um, and worked on several films throughout the last few years there. But unfortunately, the last gig that I had in that industry was last summer, for the live action Moana, for Disney, and it was great. But yeah, film has been a little bit dry, so now I've just been focusing all my energy and time into crafting what we have before us right now.
Yeah. And of course, 2023, you rejoined Wretched. So what made you decide to come back?
So I was actually asked this question last night. Not that question directly, but it was posed in the sense of like, did you ever have any second guessing moments within your music, like within your tenure as a musician, lyricist, what have you? And what ultimately made me come back was the 1 second guessing thing that I had done was, did I do the right thing by quitting Wretched? Because throughout the years, I mean, we've all grown as individuals. We've grown in our own ways. We've come to realize what matters and what doesn't. I have a strong passion for writing, and the band was an incredible outlet for that. And I just reached out to Steven over the years, and he and I kept up. And I was just like, "Hey, man, if you guys ever start to do things up again and Adam doesn't want to be a part of it, let me know. I am down to go whichever path we take." And so in May of 2022, Stephen actually reached out to me a week after he had played a show in Atlanta with his other bands. Um, he was just like, "Hey, man, so I'm sitting at a restaurant in Charlotte with John right now. Where we've got all these ideas," and he like laid out this whole huge like freaking novel for me to read. And he was just like, "You don't have to answer now. Just take some time, think about it, and just let me know if you want to start this up again with us." And I immediately responded, "It's like, dude, I don't need to take any time. I'm down. Let's do this." And
Yeah.
so by the end of 2022, um, like we had all these hopes and dreams and all that crap, and we were all like, because since we all started doing metal in our own rights, Metal Blade was the site that we had the site that we wanted to reach, and so that's what our goal was. We were like, we want to be on Metal Blade Records, so we found a way to sneak our way in. Not really
Yeah.
sneak, but we got the right connections and we talked to the right people, and then submitted, the appropriate material, and
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah, and of course now we got Decay coming out on October 17th through Metal Blade
Yep.
Records. So what was the whole writing and recording process like for the new album?
Extensive. It was very extensive. It was very different from anything we had done in the past, with or without me as the vocalist. I know, like I said earlier, everything was kind of under the gun. The second easiest one was the Exodus of Autonomy because we had already had that EP in the chamber prior to getting signed. But with this one, we basically Metal Blade has been so freaking cool about all of it. They have literally left the ball in our court, given us all the time that we've needed to write and to get everything like complete as to the best of our ability. So we started writing that album probably around the end of 2022. Steven submitted a demo to me and the rest of the guys, and that is what ultimately became Blackout, the 11th track on the album. And then um, that it wasn't finished though at that point. Then he submitted another demo, which ended up becoming the Golden Tide. So that was the first one that I wrote the lyrics to. And then after that, I wrote the lyrics to Blackout, and then so on and so forth. So I wrote the lyrics for everything in the way that it was handed to me. I would say by the end of 2023, early 2024, we finally had the album fully developed, fully like demoed out, and we were ready to take it to the studio, which we did in April of 2024. That took us. We spent about 2 weeks as a whole, like Andrew, Steven, Marshall, and myself, at a home that Steven's family has out at the beach. And we tracked everything there. Vocals, bass got complete out there. I did have to come back to Steven's place and redo some of the vocal parts and add some things, but that's just because after the fact, I was just like, oh, this would be really cool here. So we had a lot of time. We had our time to do this and to get it as right as we felt that we needed to. Um, I mean, yeah, there's still some stuff that, we each individually think, oh man, I could have done that better. Same thing with like everything else. But I try not to let that bother me now, because I am more proud of this album than I am the Exodus of Autonomy and Beyond the Gate put together, I would say.
Uh,
And I think everybody else in the band is more proud of this album than everything else we've done so far. Excuse me.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. But for you, did you with this album, did you want to pick up where the band left off with Cannibal, or for you pick up with Beyond the Gate, or being as it has been like over a decade since the last Wretched album, it's like a brand new beginning for Wretched in a way.
I would say it's a brand new beginning for Wretched in a way. We're still gonna have that edge. We're still gonna be able to, you know, entertain people with the heavy and with what's not so heavy as well. Like there's some curveballs in this album. For absolutely for sure, man. I know some people were a little taken aback by Decay when that single dropped. Um, and hopefully those concerns with it being a little too slow and like not fast and techy enough, hopefully those concerns were put to rest with our latest single that we just released today called Radiance,
Yeah, and it's
which is
fucking
start.
badass.
Yeah, thank you, man. It starts with a freaking punch to the face, and it doesn't stop. And then the like when it does stop, the outro is just such an ethereal vibe of I don't know how the hell I'm supposed to feel. Am I supposed to feel uplift or am I supposed to feel like depression? Like it's the range of emotion on this album is going to take it's a cause to take people multiple listens for the album, because I think that a lot of people are not going to really know how to feel about it, because there's happiness, there's joy in it, there's sadness, there's loss. It's a complete spectrum of emotion, and I'm incredibly proud of it.
Yeah. And what would you say like the overall like theme and message is for Decay?
The overall theme and message for Decay is it's a complete concept album. It's a story that is connected to the entire story of Beyond the Gate, but it takes place 1,000+ years in the past. It's a story of a main character named Malus, who is one of four siblings, and they are created in a place called the Ether at the hands of Exorion, which is a name that I drop in Beyond the Gate as well. And Alturiel, the Jinn from Beyond the Gate, the first lyrics in the song Decay itself are I call upon Alturiel. So there's an attachment of Alturiel to these four siblings as they come from this god Exorion. And the Jinn is, I don't want to say indebted. Basically, he is a servant. He is a protector of anything that stems from this godlike being, which is why he also is has a connection to Sylvester Alado from the story in Beyond the Gate. There is a connection between this holy and the story of Beyond the Gate. So to answer your question from before, what direction did I want to take for it? I knew that I wanted to continue the story Beyond the Gate. I just didn't know in what capacity I was going to do it. Was it going to be a direct sequel? Was it going to be a prequel of some sorts? And it wasn't evident where I was taking it until I started writing the lyrics for The Golden Tide
Yeah. Yeah.
and created
Yeah.
this whole family.
Yeah, and with this, and like you said, this is a concept album. Like for a listener, should they start with the title track and then end with the Golden Skyway, or can this album be like approached from like different angles?
So the cool thing about this record, I mean, there's still cool stuff about Beyond the Gate, but what we had time to do this time, what I had time to do this time, was I wrote the lyrics for The Golden Tide. Now that is track 10 on the album because there is a particular listening order where the album just flows in its best possible representation. But The Golden Tide is chapter 1. So the way in which I wrote each song as it was handed to me is the way that the story plays out. I would suggest listening to it the way that it is presented to you in whichever format you choose to listen to it. However, if you do buy the physical media, you will have at the front portion of the liner notes in the CD or at the top portion of the liner note sheet in the vinyl, it's going to be all the lyrics laid out in the order in which the record plays. After that, you get a story chunk. And then after that chunk of story, it says, like there's a Roman numeral 1, The Golden Tide. And then the lyrics don't repeat in there, but you are able to look up and reference the lyrics for The Golden Tide. And then there's another solid story chunk. And then there's Blackout. And then there's another story chunk, so on and so forth. So you can have two experiences with this album, but I do suggest you listen to it in the way that it is presented at first. And then if you choose to, read all of the story and then play the song, The Golden Tide, first. And then read the lyrics with that because the lyrics are part of the story. So you've got your story part. The lyrics are what happens in between those two story chunks.
Yeah.
So so I've got gaps filled on this one,
Yeah.
which I didn't have time to do for Beyond the Gate.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, like this is a concept album. I know you also talked about like worked in the movie industry. Do you ever thought about like maybe like expressing like this in like different formats, like maybe like make like a movie based on Decay?
I mean, a movie would be like it would be beyond my wildest dreams for it.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge comic book guy. So what I would say is like personally, I would just be tickled to freaking death if we got linked up with like Metal Blade could link us up with anybody, or like we link ourselves up with somebody, just like to get in contact with a fantastic artist and editor just to do a graphic novel. That's what I would love to do. I would love to do a graphic novel. Even an animated series would be super freaking sick. I've talked to my roommate in Georgia, Thornton, about doing an adventure module because he writes adventure modules Goodman Games, as that's who he works for. Um, with DC or does adventure modules for DCC Dungeon Crawl Classics. So I've already talked to him about potentially drawing up an adventure to do a tabletop RPG for this story. And I would like to see that continue for every release because this album does leave on a cliffhanger. The final track on the album is The Golden Skyway, and that is actually the final chapter in my story. And as I said, it does leave on a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
So
to
the
be
next album,
continued.
yeah, absolutely. The next album is going to be a direct continuation of this album. And
Wow.
I have ideas in my brain of where I want to take it. Now, I came to a lot of revelations while writing the lyrics and specifically the backstory for this album that connect it even stronger to Beyond the Gate. So I have stepping stones to get me all the way to Beyond the Gate. And
Like,
then I also have ideas of where I want to take the story Beyond the Gate because I do have ideas for a direct sequel to that and what happened to Sylvester Alado. So I've got plans, man.
nice. And of course, with this album, it's also first album with this new lineup as a four piece. And I know it's a first
Mhm.
because like, you worked with Marshall and Steven before, but first time with you working with the Andrew Greavy on the bass. So what
Yes.
was that like working with him, and what was like your first impression?
I had met him prior. Like I said, I'd played on, or I had jumped and done some guest vocals on stage with them prior, and I'd spoken to him a little bit. I didn't really get a good gauge, I guess you would say, just from those short experiences and interactions with him. So I guess I was maybe, I wouldn't say timid, just maybe unsure of like, hey, how is this going to go? But upon first hangout, everything was freaking solid, man. Like the guy's awesome. He's very strong with his practical jokes. So I make it a point to stay off of his radar with certain things and not play any jokes on him so that they don't come back on me tenfold.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, everything's been cool, man. Yeah, it's been great teaming up with Steven and Marshall again. And I mean, while I wasn't present for it, Joel did contribute some of the writing on this album, which he helped to write a lot of Radiance. And there's a song on the album called Lights that he also had a strong hand in. That's the one that precedes the instrumental. And that's Lights is probably one of my favorite songs on the album.
Cool. And
Um,
I know also you got playing with you live. You got Connor playing guitar with you live because I remember seeing you do that little run with our boys in Ether Realm. I
mhm.
saw you guys about I think it was like last month in Atlanta. And
Yeah, August
how was
7th through
that
the
like working
11th.
with him?
Yeah. How was it like working with Connor? Connor's freaking great, man. Um, I love the kid. He's he's fantastic. Like I would say maybe at first he was like a little trying to feel us out, as we were trying to feel him out as well. But I feel like I'm pretty much an open book when it comes to anything, um, and I try to express that to people, and I try not to. Um, I try to just like talk to people like I've known them for a very long time. And I did that with Connor, and we we all pretty much clicked immediately. He's a great kid, and we're we were planning on having him out on the road with us for 6 Feet Under as well, but unfortunately that tour got canceled on Thursday of last week.
Yeah, I heard about
Which
that. I would have drove to like New Orleans or some shit to see you.
It was yeah, it was a blow to all of us, man. Like we were all pretty gutted when we heard that news, and unfortunately, fortunately, completely out of our control. But yeah, we were all really relying on that tour to, uh, you know, give a strong push for the album because we would have been on tour when the album came out because we would have been on tour until October 25th with that, and we were really relying on that to give the album that little oomph to get our faces and our name in in front of people that one had been waiting forever to see us come through again because the band hasn't done a full US tour in too long.
Yeah.
And also to play in front of people that have never heard of us before. That's what crushes me a bit on it
Yeah.
because I love meeting new people. I love looking out and seeing people go ape shit. Just the joy on people brings me joy, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course with talking about Connor, is there a chance maybe he'll join the band officially, or are you just gonna keep it like the Four Horsemen?
We haven't really spoken too much on that. So I can't really say one way or the other what's going to happen for it. I just know that we all really enjoy Connor. We enjoy his company. We enjoy his writing ability. Well, his playing ability. We haven't really had an opportunity with him to actually write with him. So we don't know how well that end would mesh. But I mean, we're familiar with Deathless, his other band, which we all really enjoy. So I mean, it's just a matter of like how is it going to work with everybody as a whole. So yeah, I mean, once I'm sure maybe eventually down the line we'll cross that bridge when we get to it and make the consideration at that point. But
All
yeah,
right.
as of right now, I mean, we're just really happy to have him along with us for the ride, and
Cool.
yeah, really enjoy his company.
Cool. Because and also this is a very another great year for Wretched because not only do you have the album out, but this year does also mark 20 years since the band formed. Because I know you
Mm-hmm.
joined for a little bit, left for a while, then came back. So how do you feel about being part of the Wretched history?
I feel great about it, man. Like without that, I wouldn't be here right now. Um, and without that, yeah, I mean, I feel fantastic about it. Like just like Beyond the Gate, man, I look at the Exodus of Autonomy as an accomplishment. I really enjoyed my time with the boys back in from 2008 through all of 2010, um, and it's I'm happy to have been a part of it, and
Nice.
yeah, and have all those experiences because without those experiences, I wouldn't not have realized what I was missing in the 15 years, or yeah, not 15 years, the 12 years that I had without being in that position.
All right. And it's kind of like talking about like the songwriting process. I one thing I love is like the lyrics. Like at least as sort of like the vocalist and sort of like the lyric writer, do you need to like do you usually have like a like put yourself in a mind frame when it comes to making lyrics or just the lyrics just come like very naturally and organically?
Uh, I would say that I don't really know what I'm going to write until I write the first word. And the first word will usually just, I have an ear for um, what word is ultimately going to sound best. And seriously, it'll just pop right out. And I'll just be like, okay, this sounds like the right word to start with. And then I'll just progress from there. Um, as to put myself in a specific mind frame, getting super high is not a bad thing because it definitely it helps me hone in and gets me in the zone um, to it's just enhances my creativity. I mean, that's just the best way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah, and talking about like your live show, because I've only saw you guys once, like the last run you did with the Aether Realm peeps, which is a great time. That was funny enough, my first time ever seeing Wretched since I've
Yeah.
been listening to the band for a little over a decade. But is there like a similar energy to like playing live versus like recording, or are they kind of like completely like separate?
Oh, there's absolutely a different energy. Um, Now, I will say that when I'm for me personally when I'm tracking my vocals, um, there are absolutely certain instances, and I can't really pinpoint what they are because it's really just the feeling in the moment. Um, like there are instances where I get chills, and I mean, not I'm not crying, but like I will tear up out of joy because I envision myself performing this specific part of this specific song in front of a crowd of people, because I can feel that I'm moved by the music, and my hope is that that transfers and people are equally as moved by the music, which I mean, which feeds my energy for it. So I mean, I would say that the recording process feeds my energy for um, how I'm going to perform live. And yeah, so I just take it and run with it at that point.
Nice. And so kind of also like in the end to sort of wrap things up, what's next for Wretched? I know we got the new album Decay coming out next month. I'm sort of bummed about the whole 6 Feet Under tour getting like canned. What's next for Wretched, if you're allowed to say?
Right now we have some ideas to potentially do a string of holiday shows around the North Carolina and basically the regional area, to just to kind of maybe hopefully play a hometown show, um, in support of the album as like kind of like a fun party, man. Just have like everybody that we know and even more people come to that. Um, so that's a hope of ours to attain. Right now, I know that Metal Blade is working pretty diligently to see if they can find something for us to jump on in lieu of the 6 Feet Under tour being fully canceled. Which we've all got our fingers crossed on that. But I mean, my thought on that is, when one door closes, another one opens. Man, everything happens for a reason. Um, Try your best to not worry about what you can't control and worry about what you can control. And that's exactly where I'm at right now, man. Um, Having an interview with you and just a solid conversation with you and just having a good time with it, man.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
and we've got some tour plans that are in the working stages, the beginning stages of for 2026. Nothing that I can speak on right now because nothing is official. There are some details that need to get ironed out, but once those details are ironed out, we've got a nice little flyer to post. Just keep an eye on our social media and keep hitting refresh, and then you'll be the first to know.
Nice.
For every
But
moment of your life, keep swiping down on our Instagram so that
well,
you get the first view.
well said, Billy. But thank you for this conversation. It's so great to finally have Wretched on the show. It's just any final words you want to say to the viewers that are watching this to close this out?
Um, Bear with us, guys. The new album is coming out in less than a month. As I said, we're incredibly proud of it. We all think it's some of our best work. It may not be reflective of every bit of our back catalog, but we have faith that everybody is going to enjoy this immensely. So definitely get in that experience. Listen to the album a few times if you don't react to it the first time, the way that we hope you do, and hopefully you do react to it. And then again, like I said earlier, listen to it a second time and check out my story, man. Uh, get invested in Malus and all the terrible things he's about to do.
Nice. So, everybody, Billy Powers from Wretched, and we'll see you next time.